I think a lot of the British sarcasm is lost sometimes. Yeah.
That's good.
A lot of people I've interacted with, when I've made a sarcastic comment, they look at you like, "Are you serious?" It's like, no, I'm being sarcastic. I had it recently. I was having a conversation with someone. It was a message conversation, and they asked me a question, and I replied sarcastically, and they were like, "Have I upset you?" I was like, "No, no. Why would you have upset me?"
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. In today's edition of 5 Influential Horror, we have Scott Harding from the You Run podcast, and now You Run YouTube.
Yes. You run YouTube, and now you run true crime as well.
Oh, that's right. You run true crime. That's right. Yeah.
I need to stop adding things to my repertoire.
Every time you do, it's like the list of all your stuff that you share on Instagram is like slowly growing.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've been following Scott for I think a few months now, and we've interacted, and yeah, so here we are. We're going to talk about his influential horror and why he picked them.
Yeah, and my list is probably not the same as anyone else's list.
No, actually, I'm trying to think. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm wondering. I don't know if it maybe one of your movies was on, but no, you're right. These are very unique. We haven't had these before, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's because I'm weird.
Weird is good. I like weird. Okay, cool. So so your first one was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yes. This movie was a movie I saw when I was very, very young. So probably, I don't know, 10, maybe 11.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'd kind of seen horrors before with like older cousins and things like that, and they terrified me. But this one didn't. And it was the first horror that I managed to sit all the way through as a younger viewer. Okay. And it's kind of become just ingrained in me. This version of A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, is Freddy at his absolute best. This is Robert Englund's pinnacle performance. He's gone from the first one being incredibly scary and nasty to still having that sinister edge, but now putting a little bit of fun with it. I mean, this movie growing up was almost like a superhero movie. This was like my Avengers, because you had all of the characters in it have special powers. You've got Kincaid, who's super strong, and you've got her name escapes me, but the girl all clad in leather who's just bad.
Oh, Taryn.
Yeah, that's her superpower. She's bad, and she holds.
And pretty. She's pretty and bad.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. There's just something about it that I absolutely love. It just appeals to me on so many different levels. And then when you start looking at some of the facts around it, it's a crazy production.
Yeah.
Really, really crazy. So they had Freddy's glove went missing from set. And they had cars searched and cast members were accused, and they never found it until it appeared in The Evil Dead 2, hung up in the shed, and it was stolen.
I didn't know that.
So if you look when you watch The Evil Dead 2, when they do the scene in the shed, Freddy's glove is hanging up on the wall, and that's actually the glove that was stolen from the set of Dream Warriors.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great. Yeah, I definitely didn't know that. I haven't seen Evil Dead 2 in a really long time. Now I feel like I need to go back and just for that one part and see it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Huh. It's just, there's so much that happened on that set, and it's just a crazy film. And I love it. It's a regular watch for me.
Yeah, so I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I don't know as far as like knowledge about the movies and any things that like behind the scenes type things, facts about the movies. I don't know that much about them, but I've always thought it's a fun franchise. I rewatched this one actually last night because I hadn't seen it in, I don't really know. It's been a while since I had seen it, and I remembered most of it. I remember a lot of the big scenes, like the TV, and I remember
Yeah.
like the really big ones. And it was fun, especially I think because the last time I saw it, I was probably significantly younger, and kind of watching it now as an adult, it was so entertaining and fun, and I loved it a lot. I think that one kind of gets forgotten. I feel like
Yeah.
that wasn't one that I feel like a lot of people really talk about, but it was a really good one. And I liked the concept of everybody having something unique about them as this kind of like way to kind of fight back. And I liked that. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I think the casting was really good too. I loved it. I had forgotten that Lawrence Fishburne was in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of random. He just comes in as this orderly, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. I think I did know that," but it's kind of random. So that was a fun one. That's a fun one.
Yeah, and that's before he was known as Lawrence Fishburne as well. He was still Larry Fishburne then
Larry,
before.
yeah,
Yeah, before he
yeah,
had decided to make himself sound more professional.
more official. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's a good one. So you said you were probably like 10 when you saw that, and it was like it didn't
Yeah.
scare you. Whew, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so when I was younger, I had a very love-hate relationship with horror, probably into
Right.
my early teens. So
Yeah,
there wasn't many horror films that I would like. I'll be honest, when I was younger, I didn't really like horror movies at
I
all.
think I've heard you say that before. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
there reached a point, and it was probably this movie that actually went, well, actually, that there is something here I like.
yeah.
And yeah, my taste in horror movies is very, very, I'm very picky.
Yes, I may have noticed.
Yeah, anyone
Yeah,
who listens to my show or has heard me talk about horror will know there's some movies out there that everybody loves, and I like no, no,
yeah,
it's so bad,
yeah,
no. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I don't know why. I think it's probably because A Nightmare on Elm Street shaped how I look at horror.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up with. I'm not a huge Halloween fan.
Yeah,
I like it, but it's not my cup of tea.
yeah,
So I think I've got a more fun outlook on horror. I don't want
yeah,
the really serious, strict kind of this is what we're doing. It's a slasher. I like things that break the rules and that
yeah,
just have fun.
yeah. Yeah, I think I can vouch for that too, just from listening to you either talk about Halloween or other movies. And I typically don't like every time things blow up and there's a lot of hype and people are like, oh, like this is going to be this new cult favorite. 9 times out of 10, I end up hating it. I think but I'm picky, I think, in a different way because we definitely don't agree on all horror
No,
like movies, but no, we're very different. But because I do like Halloween. Halloween is not my franchise though. I mean, I think if I had to pick a franchise as far as something in horror that I grew up with, that was meaningful for me, that I followed, that I love, it's probably Scream. Just because it was just the only consistent franchise I saw growing up. Poltergeist is the first horror movie I ever saw. It's like my first memory of life. And I think but I only remember seeing the first one until I was much older and realizing there were two others. So yeah, no, I do like that. I do like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a really good franchise, and I really like Robert Englund in general. Like as a person, I like him in other things I've seen him in. So yeah,
yeah, Robert England's incredible. And
yeah.
do you think he should come back and do another one, even if it's just for a cameo to pass the torch?
Yeah, I think a cameo would work. I know I've heard him talk about his take on being Freddie again and what
Yeah.
it is and being fine with it not being him anymore. But yeah, I don't know about like a full on Freddie, but the cameo would be cute. I think it could definitely work. It's just going to depend on what they do with it writing wise, which is kind of I know how we felt about like the remake, which I did actually like the remake, but we won't go too far down that rabbit hole. But it's the guy that played him did the best he could, I think, with
Yeah,
what he was given.
he did. He did. And to be fair, I liked the remake, but
Yeah,
it wasn't a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't. They took everything that made a Nightmare on Elm Street a Nightmare on Elm Street and
And
flipped
just
it on
kind
its
of
head,
yeah,
which is great, and it's a great way to take it. But
sure.
unfortunately, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise fans are very, very precious, as are Halloween fans and Friday
Yes.
the 13th fans. And if you
Yeah.
mess with something that much, all that
Yeah.
happens is everyone goes, "Whoa,
Yeah.
don't do that. Why are you
They get
doing that?"
yeah, they get really mad. That's true.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
I think a cameo would be cool. And I think I think he would be hysterical to do something like that because he's just, yeah, I think that would be really cool. I like the idea of the cameo.
Yeah, because he's in the new season of Stranger Things.
Yes, I did see that. And I've seen, what was there's another horror movie he was in with Lynn Shay. What was it called? It was like a, I can't think of it. It's like a B film. It's not Midnight Man or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It
no,
wasn't,
I can't.
but it was one of those things where like the movie really wasn't that good, but I really like Lynn Shay. I'm a fan of her too, but they were just fun to see in something else that was still horror related. So yeah, I like Robert
Yeah.
Englund. I'd probably watch
Yeah, I
anything
do.
that he did. So yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your second one, I'm really excited about this one. I'm nervous to hear why, but I'm excited at the same time. So your next one is Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, so the Blair Witch Project, I saw this in cinemas. I saw this in the cinema.
Yeah.
And what made this so good, and still to this day makes it so good, is how they marketed this movie.
Yes.
Because when this came out, I remember the hype around this when it was released.
Yeah.
At no point was this billed as a movie.
No.
This was real. It was in newspapers. They even done a documentary that went out on one of the I can't remember what channel it went out, but there was a documentary
I remember that.
probably about a month before the movie came out. And it was geared as a documentary telling you that they've found this footage. So when I sat down in the cinema to watch this, I'd never seen a found footage film before. Not really. I'd seen bits of some, and it kind of, I didn't like the whole shaky cam thing, and but this done it so well, and all because of how they lied. And you'd never, this film would never happen. It would never happen again.
So true. Yeah.
It is, but you could never create the same hype around a movie that they did with this now, because information shared too freely. But in 1999, this was we found this footage, and everyone went, "Oh, that's quite scary. What? Are you going to release it as a film?"
Yeah. That's true. And the people who played it, you know, they just kind of, they stayed away, like they were hidden away and doing whatever they were doing. And I agree. Yeah, the time frame, it definitely plays a critical role in that, because you couldn't do that now. But yeah, I agree. I think I saw Blair Witch after it wasn't in theaters anymore, but it was still really new. And it was like right around the time I think people started realizing, okay, this isn't actually real. But that, you know, it took time for that to come out. It took time for it to be that way. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, IMDb had the 3 cast members listed as dead for 2 years before they updated it.
Yeah, they did. Yep. And it was their names. It was, you know, like that's who it was. And they were,
and it's really well done, and it's so well shot, and they do the best thing you can do, as far as I'm concerned, in a horror, is they don't show you what's chasing you.
I know. Yes, I agree.
And they took the idea that kind of like that Jaws had. For all of the stalking scenes in Jaws, you don't see the shark, or you see very little of the shark.
Just these pieces,
The original Alien, you don't see it, and that's what makes it more scary. And with the Blair Witch, they took that all the way to the end, and even at the end went, no, we're not showing you
nothing. Yeah, I know.
Nothing at all. And if you think about it logically, you're watching 3 people stood in the woods, and you're hearing twigs snap, and it's terrifying.
It is. No, I agree. I tell people all the time. So Blair Witch is on my list for influential as well. It was my introduction to found footage, and I agree. So I talk all the time about when you watch, especially obviously in horror, but like even like specific subgenres. So like when you get into like possession movies and monster movies, all of that oversaturation of seeing what it is that you're running from, you're hiding from, you're not wanting to face, it just gets you to this point where you're like, okay, well, now it's lost all of its magic. It's not scary anymore. It's not unsettling anymore. And I there's so many movies that are ruined just because they showed too much. And that's the one of the things, like, I think I said this in another video. I was like, one of the best things about Blair Witch is like almost anybody could do this movie. Anybody could walk out in their backyard with a camera and make something really similar to this. Not that there wasn't skill behind it. I don't mean it in that sense, but just in the sense that, like, there's no practical, like, crazy, or there's no like crazy effects. There's no crazy amounts of gore. It's just this atmosphere, this isolation, and all of this urban legend in the middle of the woods, and it's so effective. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. And they've done such a good job of making the cast so aggressive and uncomfortable with each other. And I know they've done that by they gave them coordinates of where they had to go to, and kind of a brief overview of the scene of what they needed to do. But they were also reducing their food by a third every day.
Yep, I did know that.
To keep them at that this kind of crazy, because they had a safe word as well, and I can't remember if it was taco or pizza, or so they had a word. That if they'd had enough, they were like, look, pizza. I need 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes to get my head straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's parts of that movie. So there's parts where they were fairly deep into the woods that they filmed it in. There's other parts when they really weren't. I mean, like, literally, it's like they've taken 30-yard steps in and gone, well, we'll start filming here. And again, they made it feel like they were so isolated.
Yeah. And I think the feeling of isolation is not always an easy one to accomplish either. My immediate go-to for that is The Shining. The Shining just does such a great job of making you feel that, like, that trapped, isolated feeling with the family as we're going through the movie and the story and all the things that happen. And this really did that for me. I mean, even watching it now, when found footage has come and it's gone in so many different directions since this movie came out. And found footage is like my favorite subgenre. I know people get tired of hearing me talk about it. I love it. But it's because it just goes to show you what you can do with very little. I mean, most found footage are kind of B films. They don't have these crazy amounts of budgets to do all these crazy things. And a lot of times the ones that they do, and they try to recreate some of this, but they do have bigger budgets, so they try to do more. It ends up falling flat because it's missing that like little thing about these types of movies like Blair Witch that just work.
Yeah, and I think found footage works better the less money you've got and the more creative you need to be. If you were to remake the Blair Witch and throw a couple of $1 million at it, it wouldn't be as well. And I think the sequel, that was it 2016, 2017?
Yeah, Book of Shadows. Not Book of Shadows. You're talking about
the
Blair
the one
Witch.
where it's her brother who goes to look for her.
Looking for her.
A good movie, but not even remotely on par with the original, not even close.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. And I didn't like Book of Shadows either. Book of Shadows was kind of a nightmare.
I don't think there's another movie that shows that little that hits that hard.
I don't think so either. Yeah. I don't think so either. Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good segue into your next one.
Yeah, it is. So the Blair Witch Project gave me a love of found footage.
Yeah.
It took me until 2007 to find a found footage movie that was even remotely close.
Yep.
And that takes me to Paranormal Activity.
Yep.
This is in my top 5 of horror movies, full stop. This is probably number 3.
Okay.
And this movie for me is everything hits right. So my favorite genre of horror is possession movies.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the bit where they actually get possessed. The bit I like
the build up.
it is the torment and the build up. And there is not another movie that does that as well as Paranormal Activity.
No, I agree.
The problem with a lot of found footage is them justifying the use of the camera. And I have such a problem with when you watch a found footage film and they're like, and I'm already filming. You're like, why are you filming? Why are you filming now?
There's nothing happening.
Yeah. And it really bugs me. Paranormal Activity, they hit that right. So they're like, you've got a couple of clips of like home footage of just like just people pissing around with the camera.
Yeah.
And then when weird stuff starts happening, he's like, I'm going to set up this camera just here.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of they've got cameras everywhere like they do in the sequels. It's they've just
Right.
got a camera
Yep.
in the bedroom. And it's just brilliant. The effects are so minimal. All of the effects in that movie you could go and do now, turn the lights off, put a camera on, and you could recreate them.
Yep.
But they're terrifying.
Yeah. No, they are. I agree.
Are you a fan of Paranormal Activity?
Yes, so Paranormal Activity I saw in theaters, and it was one of very, very, very few movies that left me unsettled for a lot longer than just the experience in the theater. Mostly the being drug out of bed part. Everybody has that thing about their foot sticking over the edge of the bed anyway. But this was not like that. The blanket was moved. That sense of security was gone. So it was like at that time, I think I was like, I was single. I didn't have a kids. I was really young, and like I had a roommate that was never around, and I was like, I'm gonna stay somewhere else. I'm not gonna be able to stay here alone. No, I love Paranormal Activity. There's a couple of them that I didn't like. So, but
yeah,
I mean,
there's lots of them I don't like.
Yeah. But
did you like the new one?
Yes, Next of Kin. I did.
Yeah.
I did like that one.
I thought they'd done a really good job, and it got absolutely slammed, and I don't know why.
I know. I don't know why either. I did a Facebook, like a short review on it because I watched it because it was on Paramount Plus, I think.
Yeah.
So I watched it that Friday or whatever that it came out because I was like, oh, I've got to watch this, and because I am a fan of Paranormal Activity, and I loved the division of it as far as like the similarities, but like being its own, like the other directions that it went. But sometimes when it goes like that, it doesn't end up being like it doesn't feel like the other parts of the franchise. But I didn't feel that way with this. This was like different and different, like had its own thing going on, but it still felt to me like a Paranormal Activity movie. So no, I really like that one. A lot.
Yeah, I did. I mean, there's a lot in this franchise that I like. So I think number 1, number 2, and number 3 are all good. Number 1's the standout. When you hit number 4 and you start talking about the ghost dimension and they're drawing portals through the wall and you've got the Coven of Witches, that's when I kind of you've kind of missed the point now of what this was, and you've taken it to a whole other level. And I think that was out of a desire to grow the universe in different directions. And they didn't need to do that with this. Again, one that could have been quite easily a standalone horror.
Yeah, no, I agree. The first 3 are the ones that I like, but I actually liked 3 more than 2. I really liked the ones when they were kids.
Yeah,
that one was really well done, and I'm always impressed with like kids in horror, like the abilities of some of these children to act like that and like it's crazy to me. But that one I really liked that one a lot. I did not care for Ghost Dimension, or I didn't care for that one.
No.
There was one more, right? There's 5 and the next of kin, so there's 6 total, I think.
Yeah, there's 6 total. I can't think what the other one was called. You had 1, 2, and 3, Ghost Dimension, and
the other one might have just been 4. I don't remember.
Yeah, it might have been 4, but 4. It was 4 because 4's the one with the Xbox.
Oh, camera. The Kinect. Yes, that's right. With the green. Yeah, that's right. That one was.
That was where I've kind of got. I make that noise a lot when I get to like the 4th and the 5th in a franchise.
Of anything.
It's different. Then you sort of gets to a point you just go, oh, so bad.
I want to. Yeah, no, I like that franchise a lot. I feel like that's another one I hear a lot of people are not fans of. That it's like, but I think one thing that is always the case is found footage, at least in my professional opinion, has always judged so much harder than a lot of other subgenres in horror. And it's like people will tell you, like I've so many people take it so personally that it's my favorite subgenre, and they're like, I hate those movies so much. And my follow-up to that is, which ones have you seen? Like, tell me which one. And I swear to God, 9 times out of 10, the answer is Cloverfield. And I get so angry because I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Cloverfield is not like the standard for found footage.
No, it's not. It's but saying that, I quite like Cloverfield.
Yeah, you did. I wanted to like it. That one I couldn't get. That one had too much of this for me. It was difficult to
Yeah,
get through. I love the final shots. I like the story. Like I there are things about it that I like, but I was that one was a hard watch for me because I remember just being like, ugh, it was a lot.
yeah, leaves you with motion sickness.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people think all found footage is motion sickness. I'm like, first of all, most that's not even really true because found
Yeah,
footage goes back way before Blair Witch. But the other thing is like now they have like perfected this ability to do found footage in a way that's not so jarring, at least not in that
yeah.
way. And it just God, it makes me so mad when people are like, I hate that subgenre, and I've seen one movie. It doesn't even matter what the movie is. If it's just one, like no.
And the thing is, found footage is a gateway for so many new filmmakers because it's
Yeah.
such a cheap, easy way to
Yes.
produce a movie.
Yes.
It's such a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
You can have very minimal equipment. There was a film released recently that was filmed entirely on an iPhone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, why would you can't moan about a genre that brings you new directors, new actors, new storylines. You
New
can't complain
creativity.
about that.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know I was crazy impressed with what was it? Not Unfriended, the other one that's like Host. When a
Yeah.
Host came out in 2020, that was like the first full, like that was the first one, I think. I might be wrong about this, and I'm pretty sure it was like the first full movie that was done in quarantine because all of
Yeah.
these people were completely in different places when they filmed this movie. And I'm like, and that's that, and they did it with Zoom. Like I'm like, what is it? That's crazy impressive to me. And I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's just something to be said for that art and such and that subgenre. Like yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, I get on tangents about
No, I love found footage, and
yeah.
I'm making a found footage film, which you know
Yeah.
anyway.
I do know that, yes.
Which yeah, comes out at some point. Well, October 31st next year, provided everything goes to plan. Well, that's all right. Well, what we'll do then is we'll jump off of Paranormal Activity. We'll take you away from found footage, and we'll take you to the movie that I absolutely love.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do your number 4.
Number 4 is Shaun of the Dead, the best and most realistic zombie movie ever made. This is closer to how people will react than anything that any Romero or anyone else has made. The opening scenes of this, where the zombies first appear and they've got the zombie in the garden.
Oh yes.
And they close the curtains and go and make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
That is exactly how we would react. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't go out there and instantly attack. We'd close the curtains and sit down and go, oh, what do we do now? Let's put the news on and see what the news says.
That's very true. It is oddly realistic. I don't think I've really thought about it that way, but that's a good point.
I've watched a lot of zombie films, and I like zombie movies.
Me too.
And the more I think about Shaun of the Dead, the reactions of the things that they do. So their first gut reaction is to go to get their loved ones. That's exactly what we would do. Yeah. The kind of makeshifting of, well, we haven't got guns, we haven't got this. What have we got? Oh, we've got a cricket. We've got a cricket bat. Oh, in fact, we've got some cups. Let's throw some cups at them first. And it's so well done. The actors are brilliant. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, I think, are two of the most funny, talented actors the UK has got to offer. Edgar Wright is incredible. Anything Edgar Wright touches, I think, turns to gold.
It's just gold.
So, same as Last Night in Soho was stunning.
That was a great one. Yeah,
visually stunning.
Visually, yes, I agree with that.
This movie is in my influential horror because this is the movie that made me realize you could make a scary horror movie and make it hilarious.
Yeah.
There's big chunks of this that are really scary. There are some really scary scenes in this.
Yeah.
But they'll hit you with a scary scene and you'll feel anxious, and then they'll hit you with a gag straight afterwards, and it just washes away all the fear. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think I one of my biggest things about anything that's meant to be like a horror comedy or a parody or a black comedy or whatever you want to call them, is that more often than not, they lean too much on the comedy. So that it ends up just being a comedy with like these like little splashes of could be horror. And
Yeah.
it's such a hard line to follow because I end up hating so many of them. But I absolutely love Shaun of the Dead. I think that's a great one. That's like and somebody said this on something else we were talking about, but it's also like a really good movie for people who may not be into horror to still watch it and enjoy it, because it does have those moments of funny and those other things that kind of break it up. You've got this like love story kind of going on, and you've got all these things, these friendships coming into play and stuff. And it's a really good movie in general. I really like it a lot, but it's really hard to nail that like horror comedy and it be both without just being one or the other. And I think you're right. This one hits the nail right on the head.
Yeah, there's not many I can think of that can do it. There's so many that have tried. The only ones I can think of that can do it is Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, which is directly inspired from Shaun of the Dead, and Anna versus the Apocalypse, and all three are zombie movies.
Yep.
I don't know if zombie movies lend themselves better to this type of horror.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you could make a comedy like, or horror comedy like this using like a Paranormal Activity feel to it. It's very hard to make a possessed demon amusing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because then what ends up happening is it ends up being more of a parody where it's making fun of it. Like it's you can't yeah. I mean, well, and I think to your point, just talking about how realistic it is, that in in the event of a zombie apocalypse, there are going to be moments that aren't scary and aren't heavy and aren't like that. And I think that is probably, to your point about it being zombie movies, I think that's probably why it does work so well, because that does feel like more what it would be like. There's all this awful shit going on, and then at the same time, you have moments where people are laughing or like having like doing these things that are just not as terrifying, I guess. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about it being zombie movies. I like other things that I consider black comedies, like I really like, I feel like Black Christmas is a dark comedy. But it's really well done, but it's not it's probably it's done so differently than Shaun of the Dead, but like it's just there's so few that I feel that way about, that I end up just really liking a lot, because I always end up thinking like this just ends up being cheesy and not anything else. Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about things like Scary Movie?
I don't like those.
Nor do I.
I don't like. I really don't like. I tell people I consider those like strictly parodies where they're meant to make fun of, and I hate them. I can't stand movies like that. If it's taking, especially because I feel so obsessed with horror. Like if you're making fun of it, like like I just can't. I don't want to waste my time and energy or money on it. I hate the Scary Movie franchises.
I'm not a big fan. The one thing I will say in their defense is their parodies are of such high quality. They've actually managed to ruin horror movies for people who haven't seen them. If someone watches a scary movie first and then watches the horror that it's parodying, you cannot get that out of your head, because they've done such a good job of parodying it so closely.
God, that's true. No, that's true.
But yeah, I hate them. They are my most hated of all franchises, the Scary Movie franchise.
One of their movies, I'm pretty sure it was the Scary Movie franchise. They did one for Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
And it was, but people love them. And I hate that people love them. That drives me crazy. But yeah, I don't like those. I can't do, if it's just meant to be funny and it's making fun, because there's a Blair Witch parody too. I can't remember what it's called.
Yes, I think I've seen that.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, but, and it's very much in the same vein as Scary Movie, but Blair Witch.
Exactly. Like I think the cover is like is the same shot from Blair Witch, but
she's got loads of snot coming out of her nose.
Yeah, out of her nose. Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah. I can't stand those. I hate those. Yeah.
No, and although they do a good job of parodying them, for me, it's just not right. They shouldn't do it, because it's a genre that I love.
I know.
They don't do it delicately either. There are, for example, Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead makes reference to other horror movies and
Yeah.
will dig at them a little bit, but it's done in a very
Tasteful.
respectful. We like this. We like this, and we're taking the piss out of it, but only a little bit, and it's okay because we like it, and that's fine. But when you're blatantly turning around going, "Well, that's rubbish. Look how funny this is," I don't like that.
I don't like that either. No, I'm the same way. And that's why I think like, cause well, and obviously like those especially cause I really am a big fan of the Scream franchise. So those were just like instantly on my list. Cause I do love those movies. Like, and again, it's one of the first franchises I was ever like consistently invested in when I was younger, but yeah, I hate those. And I think Shaun of the Dead is good in that regard. I really think like the sense of humor is pretty hard. It's kind of unmatched, I feel like, just as how it goes back and forth between those things. Like you talking about you going from this moment of something awful happening to this like funny moment. And it's so the flow is like never abrupt. It just all makes sense. You don't question it and you just enjoy it as you're watching it. It's great.
Yeah, and to get a UK based horror that exports well to the US is really difficult because there's lots of
I hadn't really thought about that.
There's can you think of any more UK horrors in the same level as Shaun of the Dead?
That's fair. I hadn't really thought about
that. We make a lot of horror movies, but they never export well out of the UK. So things like Dog Soldiers, which is a fabulous werewolf movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
But there's not many people who like that. Well, I've spoken to lots of people in the States about that movie, and they're all like, no, I don't really get it. I think a lot of the British sarcasm is lost sometimes. Yeah. That's a lot of people I've interacted with, when I've made a sarcastic comment, they look at you like, are you serious? It's like, no, I'm being sarcastic. I had it recently. I was having a conversation with someone. It was a message conversation, and they asked me a question, and I replied sarcastically. And they were like, "Have I upset you?" I was like, "No. Why would you have upset me?" Yeah, no, and I like that, and I like crazy horror. That's what I like.
Crazy horror.
Yeah. Crazy horror. Which I think my last movie covers crazy horror.
I think so. That was an excellent transition. You can tell you've done this before.
Yeah, I tried. But my last movie is Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods has the greatest twist in a movie of any horror movie ever made. Nothing else I've watched made me go, oh my God, what? They set this up as just another cabin movie, and even the name Cabin in the Woods. So when I went to watch this in the cinema, I sat down and I'm going, I was in my head, I was expecting The Evil Dead.
Yes.
That's what I'd gone to watch. That's what I'd bought a ticket to. They get to the cabin and then things start going wrong. And then when he goes to leave on his dirt bike and he hits the magical wall, I was like, what? Sorry?
What's happening here?
Yeah. And then they take you into this whole subworld of the people that run the cabin. And those two guys who are taking bets on the cabin are the highlight of the movie. They are
funny. They are very funny. Yeah.
It's such an interesting concept for a movie, and I'm desperate to see another one. This is a movie that I feel needs to be sequeled.
That's it. And Cabin in the Woods did actually make a list for Intro to Horror 2, because it is one that's like skirts the line of serious and not serious. I will be honest with you, the first time I saw Cabin in the Woods, I hated it. Because the first time I saw it, because I think I did same thing. I went in expecting Evil Dead, which in some instances, sure. But I think I wasn't expecting it to be what it was. And so I had to watch it a second time to really gain an appreciation and a love for it, because it's not, because I'm so sensitive about parodies and like trying to be funny about like but when you see that at its core, it's not actually making fun of horror.
No.
It's actually just like, I ended up really liking it a lot. I hated it the first time I saw it, but yes, I fell in love with it the second time that I watched it for sure. Cause I was like, okay, so it knows what it's doing. It's not, I liked it a lot.
It was being very, it kind of, I think it set everything up in such a nice way that when it did turn, I walked out of the cinema having watched the whole movie, and I walked out going, "What did I just watch? what was that?"
Yeah.
And the person I was with, he was going, "I don't know." He said, "I just didn't see that coming." He said, "Everything in there was like, what?" And it kind of builds on that in levels. So you get him hit the wall, and you go, "Sorry, what's going on?" And then you see them going, "Oh, so which one are we going to release? Let's release this monster." And you're going, "Why are they releasing monsters? Why?" And
what is happening?
And they don't explain it. And I think that's what's best. They don't explain it until like the very 7 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
So you spend the whole movie going, and now they've released a merman, and there's a guy with a saw blade through his face. What's he doing? And I absolutely loved it. And the visual effects in this, the practical effects work, and even the really CGI good. Still holds up now.
Yeah.
So good. This actually ties back to my first movie as well. So the Heather Langenkamp was part of the special effects team for Cabin in the Woods.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, her husband has got his own SFX company.
Okay.
And she was on set doing the special effects with him for Cabin in the Woods.
That adds even more to it, because I feel like that movie is chock full of references and nostalgia anyway, even down to like I can't think of the character's name. I was going to say the character's name, but when it comes down to the end, what is her name? Oh.
Which one? Sorry, the
woman, the woman in the end. That's like I'm drawing a total blank.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't really matter.
Well. Yeah.
But even having her in that movie was like, like it just had these moments where you're just like, and the guy with the thing in his face totally made me think of like 13 Ghosts. Like, I don't like, there are just these, all of these things. And then God, when you see all those little elevator rooms and you're like looking at all of the stuff that's there, it's so, it's like crazy amounts of emotions. Like when you're watching it all unfold and you're making these connections and you're seeing all these things that are familiar but being used in a totally different way, it's like, man, that was a really good movie.
It's things like that I mean, this movie is a big influence for me because it is so crazy. They reached a point in this when they're making this movie, they've gone, how far can we push it? And they got to that point and they've gone, let's push it a little bit further. And I like that. I like the fact that they blindside you with this first twist, but they don't stop there. They constantly do it. And even the ending of this movie is spectacular.
Yeah, I love the ending.
So good. And I think it's set up so nicely I would like a sequel to literally start where this ended.
And just see what happens afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Because then when all of these things are now out in a much larger world with no barriers or restrictions, I would love to see that.
That would be crazy. That would be like a next level crazy.
Yeah, think like the only way I could think of it in my head would be like The Walking Dead, but with all of these different monsters.
Yeah, instead of just zombies.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd last very long. I feel like we would be done in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, we would. And the actors in this are really good as well. And none of which were particularly famous when they started.
Did that movie. That's true.
So you've got obviously Chris Hemsworth went on to be Thor amongst many other things. You've got, I can't think of his name. It's really going to bug me now. No, it's gone. It's not important. There's lots of people in this who went on and become very famous.
I can't think of any names today either.
No, I'm drawing a blank. And normally that's the one thing that I never put names in my notes because I'm normally really good at remembering names and remembering dates. And the things I haven't written down are the things that I can't remember today.
Yeah, that's true. I think that yeah, I agree that you guys doing the bets, that was I don't know. It was another one that towed the line of discomfort versus comedy, and it just came together like really, really, really well. I like Cabin in the Woods. That's a good one. Like I said, I hated it when I first saw it, but that's because I thought it was trying to be like those other movies. I didn't
Yeah.
realize at the time that I saw it because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something different, and that was a pleasant surprise and so unique. Like I very rarely walk away from horror, whether I love it or not, and think that was really creative. Like that was really unique, and this was one that I definitely walked away from feeling that way. Like this is definitely something special. It's not, your run of the mill stuff. So that was a good one.
Yeah, and that's what I want out of horror. I want every time I go to watch a horror movie, even if it's something like when I go to watch the new Halloween movie that comes out this year,
Mhm.
I'm going to go and watch that, but I want to watch that and be shocked.
Mhm.
I want them to
Yeah.
do the opening scene and Michael kills Laurie, or the
Yeah.
opening scene and Laurie kills Michael, and then see where they take it.
And then see what else.
Yeah, and the same as like any movie I go and see, whether it's a new movie or a rehash or a reboot or a sequel, I always
Mhm.
want something to shock me and to make
Yeah.
me go, "Wow, I didn't see that coming."
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of horror movies fall down, especially big franchises, because they're too scared to make that decision.
To do something different. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. As much as I want to see it, I can't see Laurie Strode dying in the first 10 minutes. But if she did, that would be such a
Oh my God.
for everyone watching. Or if even go one step further, kill Michael. Kill
Yeah.
Michael in the first 10 minutes.
And then do something else.
And then do something else. Take it down the anthology road that they started going down with Season of the Witch.
Oh, Season of the Witch. That's right. Yeah.
The,
That's
the fans,
blasphemous. I don't think you can.
yeah, the fans would
Freak
riot.
out.
Yeah, they would absolutely riot.
They would.
But I would
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah.
personally would be like, this is brilliant. They've killed Michael. I'd just be looking around at everyone else in the cinema.
And
going
everyone's
mad.
like pissed, going to ask for their money back.
And I'm sat there going, this is incredible. What a
I
good
love
film.
it. That's Scott's 5 influential horror and everything else we can think to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much covers everything.
All of it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. It means a lot. I appreciate it.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I'm going to get on because it's late here now.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go.
No, that's all
Yeah.
right. It's bedtime.
Bedtime. All right. Well, have a
All
good night.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye-bye.
And yeah, that is my 5 influential horror with Scott Harding from the You Run podcast. Scott's hysterical. If you are not a follower, I'm going to put all of his information below. Make sure you go follow him and definitely listen to his podcast. He's very funny. He also has a YouTube, so I'll put everything like I said below. Yeah, that's what I have for this one. So, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next one.